Yasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshunatangena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Bhagadamayam Didanti Sambarantakam Bande Shri Guru Shitakamam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tanjajivam Sadvaitam Sadhutam Vrijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Vadam Sagana Lalita Shri Visharitam Sa Hey Krishna Karuna Sundara Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopikanta Radha Kandanamustati Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Suddevi Pranamani Hari Vanchakalpa Trubhyacha Pasundavim Cha Patitam Bhavani Vaishnavi Everyone. Nama Om Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasai Gaura Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So life is full of unexpected explosions. And we're all living on a short fuse. So month of Kartik, we're trying to increase our devotion to Radha and Krishna, Lord Chaitanya. Are they demonstrating? Demonstrating that they really work. So hearing these explosions, this reminds me, well, I was informed yesterday actually, two of my disciples in Ukraine were actually killed. It was right where the Russian and the Ukrainians were fighting. It's right. There were certain hotspots. So this particular town was called Kherson, and they had a cow, and the cow was wandering around the village or town. I don't really know. No real information. So then they went to the house and they found that they were actually dead. But it's all a little sketchy, exactly what happened. And even if we know what happened, you can't always say it, because it's very sensitive. For instance, when I would write to the Ukrainian devotees, I couldn't say I sympathize with the war that's going on. I couldn't use that word war because Russia wasn't saying it was a war. So it's all very sensitive. But the one devotee, I gave him the name Sanatana Goswami, Das, and his good wife. So when he came to see me to get initiated, he put a straw in his mouth. So that's exactly what Sanatana Goswami did when he saw Lord Chaitanya. So it's quite unusual, isn't it? When you go to your guru, you don't usually put a piece of straw in your mouth. So I gave him that name, Sanatana. So of course he has taken birth in the Lord's pastimes. I don't doubt this. And we all have to die at some point or other. As Prabhupada said, one day more, one day before, it's inevitable. We don't like to think about it. We push it away. As I'm getting older, I'm thinking more about old age and death. But 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, I would talk about it, but I'd never really think about it. I would just speak about it. But who is it? Some philosopher. Experience is a brutal teacher, but this is how you learn. Experience is a brutal teacher, and this is how you learn. But of course, many people don't learn. They experience, but they don't learn. There's so many stories of people having throat cancer from smoking, but they continue to smoke, or sexually transmitted disease, they continue to be very licentious and lusty. So it's like they haven't learned. The first class disciple or first class human being will learn simply by observing others and by scripture. So we should not engage in sinful activity. It disturbs the mind. So they don't have to do that. They don't have to take intoxication. They can just simply see others. And there's so many examples on the internet and people getting intoxicated and doing crazy things, because you lose your intelligence when you get intoxicated. The second class of person, they have to do it, and then they learn from that. That's the second class. They know they shouldn't or whatever, they do, and then they learn from that, and they say, all right, never again. And then the third class, they never learn. They never learn. They just continue doing it again and again and again and again. Again and again and again. That's your third class. So we want to be first class. We read Bhagavad Gita, scripture, and then we understand our Brahma Bhuvana Loka, from the highest planet to the lowest planet, are all places of misery. Dukkhalayam, duk means suffering. Duk means to suffer. Sukh means to enjoy. So from the highest planet, even you go up to above this Swagaloka, that part of Swagaloka is Indraloka, and then you go to Mahaloka, and then you go to Janaloka. Each one is higher. Each one you live longer. Each one there's more enjoyment. And then you go to Tapaloka. The primary residents of Tapaloka are the four Kumaras. One of the conditions for Tapaloka, celibate. Then above Tapaloka, Brahmaloka. And that's where Lord Brahma lives. And the duration of life is longer. Brahma lives for 311 trillion years. And our present Brahma, he's 50 years old. But in our years, he's 305 trillion years old. No, 105. What's half of 311? Or 155. Trillion. Yeah. And then you've got lower planets. So this is Earth planet. And then you go lower. The name will come in a minute. So on the lower planet of Mahatala, Tala, Avitala, and you go right down to Sutala, and then Patala, right down to the bottom. And even on this Earth planet, if we look, there are places which are more peaceful, and the weather is better, and it's not too hot, and it's not too cold. It's about right. And there's fruits and there's vegetables. But then on this Earth planet, you can go to the Sahara Desert. Now there's no cauliflower and cabbage and aloo sabjis. It's the Sahara Desert. Nothing grows in the desert, or at least vegetables don't grow. And then it goes from very hot to very cold, very quickly. So it's just not a nice place, but it's here on this Earth planet. So I'm giving you the example of relatively materially better places and relatively material lesser places. Like in the northern hemisphere, the winters are always very cold. And we think our South African winter is cold. It's nothing compared to some of these countries in the north. And I was born in that. That's where I was brought up. So wherever you go, there's going to be this old age and disease and death. And we should be intelligent enough to think about it. Please think about it. And then if we're even smarter, we may try to follow a spiritual path. So that's what we are all doing. We're following a spiritual path. The goal is called sadhya. So what does sadhya mean? It's the goal. So what is our goal in Krishna consciousness?
Always remember Krishna.
Yes, but that's completely right. A more general answer. Jiva Goswami, in writing the Sandarbhas, has more specifically said, what is our sadhya? What is our goal? What is it? To become a servant of Krishna. And what about Prahlad? He's a servant of Shingadev. It's not a complete answer. Sadhya means prema pamatamahan, which means in English, love of God. It may be Narayan, forehand. It may be Ramchandra. In India, Ramayan, very popular. Ramayan. I think even the worship of Ram is more extensive than the worship of Krishna. Worship of Nishingadev. Kurama, that's Braha. Harigriva, horse incarnation. So love of God is sajja, is the goal. And sadhana is the method to achieve it. It's the method to achieve it. So we are all practicing sadhana bhakti, all of us. Some a little more serious than others, but we're all doing sadhana bhakti. We're practicing. This material world is like an apprenticeship, or rather, being in a spiritual movement within this material world, it's like an apprenticeship. It's like you're at school and you're doing your primary education. You're learning how to read and write. And then you do your secondary education. And then you go to university. So now you're being educated. Then you go out into, we could say, a job. So we are all doing sadhana bhakti, practice of sadhana bhakti, and we are preparing ourselves to take birth in the Lord's pastimes. God is a person, just like you are persons. And you'll see every person is a little different. Here we have the men. Now you're all a little different. A little different in size, different in color slightly, different in temperament, called silam. Silam is temperament. Yata ruchi. You're all different in the way you do things. Yata ruchi, yata kama. So we're all different. And God is also a person. Nitya, Nityanam. There's one eternal and there's many eternals. Chetas, Chetanam. And the one eternal supports the many. So that one eternal person, God, is supporting all of us. Therefore he's referred to as Govindam Adi Purusham Tamahama Jamani. Adi Purush. Purush means the enjoyer or the person. And Adi, what does Adi mean? Adi? First, original. He's the original person. From him, everything else emanates. It is not, as Mr. Charles Darwin has speculated, using pure conjecture, that the first living organism was single-celled, swimming around in the ocean. And that single-celled organism decided to split and expand. So suddenly you get a female one as well. And then they have little babies. And then at some point or other, they decided, let's leave the water. You know, it's a wet place. Let's leave the water and see what's beyond. So they crawled out onto the beach. And then they adapted some breathing mechanism. So instead of having to breathe water, they could breathe air. So it's called an amphibian. And then from the amphibian, they became a reptile. Like a little reptile, a lizard or something, or a frog. And then from that, they became the monkey. And then one day, the monkey gave birth to what? Tell me? Tell me? Phoenix man. Yes, Phoenix man popped out. He didn't really know what he was doing. And then he saw Phoenix woman. And he was mesmerized. He was totally under her control. And then they had Phoenix babies. So Darwin, Prabhupada was very strongly preaching against Darwin. I think actually Darwin is my own personal realization. I think he was some demon in his past. And he appeared in Western culture, or British, to increase atheism, and he did it very well. Yeah, Charles Darwin. So God is the original person, Adi Purush, and he is a personality, like all of you. He dresses in a certain way, and he acts in a certain way. He likes to play with cows. His eternal abode is Vrindavan, and he expresses or displays emotions. Now, all of you do also. Sometimes you might get a little bit angry. Sometimes you might get a little despondent, isn't it? If New Zealand had won, right? South Africa only won by, I think, what was it, 1 point or something? So if New Zealand, was it New Zealand, had won, you would, many people, not necessarily you, but they'd be despondent. So depression, it's a big thing. Depression, despondency, lethargy, and then some people, but compassion, that's another emotion we feel. You see someone suffering on the streets, you feel compassion, laughter, then there's pride. I think we all know about pride. It's called DARPA, D-A-R-P-A, pride. We become a little prideful, isn't it? We go to a gateway and we buy one new pair of shoes, and then we come to the Phoenix Temple and we leave the shoes outside. I hope they notice. I hope everyone notices my new pair of stylish, expensive shoes, not made in China. We wear the new sari. I hope they're recognizing my new sari, my new hairstyle. So we become proud. The new car, we have to drive it around, the new car. So we become proud. So these are all emotions. Now where do they come from? Do they just come from the thin air? They come from the absolute truth. They come from God. But when Krishna experiences with his Vrindavan associates these different emotions, they're pure. They're completely pure. They're not tinged with any contamination. So in other words, there's no material lust in Vrindavan. When Krishna meets the gopis, the young girls, Shriya Braja Krishna Vita Manasa, there's no material lust. It's pure loving exchange. But in the material world, the man is looking at the woman and thinking how I can enjoy it. Not now, but later. I'm going to get her drunk first. The lady is thinking, yes, I can enjoy this man. I think he's got a big bank account. I already did my homework. I checked out. He's got some money. Jagannath. So in the material world, there's the exchange of lust. You have to satisfy my senses. The man is thinking. And then the woman is thinking also, you have to satisfy my senses. It's I, me, and mine. You understand I, me, and mine. Then you may argue, but just a minute, I'm also concerned about my children. But that's called extended sense gratification. Your children, not the next door neighbor's children, or person across the road. Your children. So it's called extended sense gratification. But in the spiritual world, there is no contamination. Contamination will be in the mode of ignorance or passion. Passion is lust. The mode of ignorance is more foolishness, like drugs and violence, crazy things. So passion. The mode of passion, it can't infiltrate into Vaikuntha or Goloka Vrindavan. It can't push its way in. It can't gate crash. You know, they have parties and people gate crash. You can't gate crash. I came to we pulled the car up, and I went to wash my hands, and there's the security guard with an R4. So I made an on-the-spot interrogation to find out, and he showed me the bullets. I'm allowed to have interest in a bullet. You know, and how, and will it go through 2 cars or 3 cars? And how many times has he shot it? And how much does it cost? It was an interesting exchange. But you can't gate crash the 5 people down there. So you can't gate crash the spiritual world. You can't bribe. I can bribe that security man. You know? But I can't, you can't bribe the residents of Vrindavan. You can't even, technically, you can't even bribe the guru. It's not, if he's representing God and he's bona fide, you can't bribe him with money or position. So in the spiritual world, there's no influence of the mode of passion. So the relationships are very pure, extremely pure. And we can simply hear about them. To experience them a little bit, but we can't really. We have to be there. You have to go there to experience. It's like the frog. You know, you have the frog at the beach, Abington Beach, the little frog, and he's in his well. And this is his kingdom. You know, 1 meter. By 1 meter, and he's croaking away, croak, 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 croak. And then the other frog comes from Phoenix and says, hey man, there's a big ocean outside. It's called the Indian Ocean, because the Indians, they drown in that. And the other frog goes, no, you're exaggerating, and no, it's not bigger than my little well. And the other frog goes, no, it's a lot bigger, it's a lot deeper. And then the other frog goes, all right, it's twice as big. All right, 3 times as big. So that frog will never understand. So for us to comprehend Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, by our own intelligence, it's just not possible. But when Krishna allows us to understand, because he's in our heart. Krishna's in everyone's heart. And he can reveal himself to Dhammi Buddhi Yogam Tam. Not completely, not 100%, but little bit, he can reveal himself. So these pastimes and these activities that go on in Vrindavan, they're completely pure. And there's no lust. Although it may look like some lust, it may look like some anger, it resembles, but it's pure. Anger can also purify you. Generally, we say anger, it comes from the mode of passion. You become angry, and then the next step is you become violent. So that's the mode of ignorance. And when you become angry, psychologically, your blood pressure goes up. Correct? And then you start sweating more, and then your eyes become sometimes a little red, and then because of the blood, and then even you start shaking. Out of anger, you could shake. And then anger, it releases various chemicals in the body, like adrenaline, which is also a type of poison. I've heard that sometimes ladies who may be breastfeeding their children, if there's some situation where there's excessive adrenaline, the child can actually die. It's a type of poison, but it's preparing you to run or fight. You know, like the Durban riots or something. It's preparing you. So, in the material world, anger is contaminating. But in the spiritual world, that same anger can purify you. And the example is Hanuman. Hanuman jumps to Sri Lanka. He's very angry. He's actually killing people. But that anger is not for himself, I, me, and mine. It's on behalf of Sita. It's on behalf of Lord Ram. So that anger actually purified it. So it's interesting how that same anger can degrade you or it can purify you. Depends on your motive. Depends on your motive. The surgeon at Parkland's, ISKCON, takes the knife, am I correct? The surgeon's knife, and plunges it in the chest and cuts. Now that's an act of violence that is to save the person's life. But that same surgical instrument can be taken by some psychopath, some terrible criminal, can take that same knife and kill someone. So the knife is not good or bad. It depends how you use it. Can you understand that? Quite simple. So anger, it's actually not good or bad. It depends if you use it for yourself or your country, because democracy is actually very demoniac. But people are willing to die for their country. They will kill other people. They don't have any personal vendetta against someone else, except they're in another country. And that's what's going on now. Palestine, Israel, Ukraine, Russia, Sudan. It's going on. People are willing to die for their own country. So anger, it's neutral. I'll give you another example, that we're coming here to the temple, and then with the matches, we light the lamp, and then we offer the lamp. So we're offering a flame, and it's in devotion. So that's the motive, devotional service to Radha Damodar, Jagannath, Subhadra, Balaram. It's pure. But you can also take those matches and you can go to your mother-in-law's house. Not that you'd have anything against them. I'm sure they're a wonderful lady. And then you can offer some prayers to Agni, and then you can light the house. Isn't it? You light the house. You light it up, and the house burns down. Same matches. So it depends on the motive. So all these emotions, they exist in the spiritual world. And the topmost emotion is that of, it's called Shingara Ras, Madhurya Ras. Madhurya means honey. It means sweet. Madhurya Ras. So generally Madhurya Ras In a general way, it can be Sakhiras, friend of Krishna, but Saliras, like Mother Yasoda, or conjugal, the young gopis. But more specifically, Madhurya Ras means Shringara Ras, conjugal love with Krishna, God. So the living entity can have that relationship with Krishna. And it can be Swakiya or Parakiya. Swakiya means married. So this is the queens in Dwarka. The queens in Dwarka, like Rukmini and Satyabhama, they live in Dwarka. And they're actually married to Krishna. And Krishna expands himself. One time Narada Muni, he brought a parijata, he brought a special plant from the higher planets. They say that if anyone who's wearing this plant, they never get hungry, they never get thirsty, they remain young. And Narada Muni gave it to Krishna, and then in front of all the queens, he told Krishna, now give it to your favorite queen. Give it to your favorite queen. So Krishna tried to change the subject because when you have lots of queens, and he had 16,108, there's obviously a little bit of competition. So he tried to change the subject. But Narada Muni wouldn't let it go. So he asked him again, he pushed him. And Krishna thought, oh, I'm in big trouble now. So he had to give it to his favorite queen. So his favorite queen is actually Rukmini. But the most beautiful queen is Satyabhama. But Rukmini is the ideal queen because she's a bit more submissive. Whereas Satyabhama is a little, what is the word, ladies? Come on. Are we allowed to say this word? Feisty? Little hot to trot. So Satyabhama is like that, you see? And Satyabhama, Radharani entered into Satyabhama, so Radharani is a light person. And Chandravali entered into Rukmini. And Chandravali is a little bit more submissive. So all these emotions that go on in the spiritual world. Oh, to continue the story. So Krishna, he's in this assembly house, which I didn't mention. This assembly house was where Krishna would meet in Dwarka. And this house, this palace, was so designed that if there were a few people, the assembly house would reduce in size automatically. And if there were lots of people, it would expand in size. Can you imagine you're in a massive hall and there's just 10 of you? You're losing something. So it's nicer to meet in a smaller place. So the assembly hall itself is conscious. This building here is not actually conscious. But if you have the vision, you can see it as conscious. So it expands according to how many people are in it. And then it automatically cools. You don't need to fiddle with the AC. Because even if you fiddle with the AC, there's a power cut. Because we're all connected to ISKCON. Where's our ISKCON representative? Everyone pointed. Everyone pointed. Your fault. So the power is off, but still the assembly hall is cool and it's perfect. So Krishna, he gives the Parijata flower to Rukmini. And immediately Satyabhama becomes angry because this is her nature. It's called man, M-A-N-A, womanly anger. But it's pure. It's very difficult to understand. It's not like some Phoenix lady or Chatsworth lady, where they'll smack you like that. It's not like that at all. So Satyabhama became angry. There's Udatta man, Lalita man. There's different types of loving anger. So then Satyabhama storms off, because, it's all part of he got to storm off, and she went to her particular palace, and then there are certain characteristics of when the lady is angry. So they dress in a very simple way, and then they lie on the floor, sit on the floor, and then they won't eat, and they won't talk, and they're very angry. So that's what Satyabhama did. Yeah. But these emotions that go on in the spiritual world are all very pure. Not very pure, 100% pure. And they all come originally from Radha and Krishna. So every evening there is what is called the Rasa dance, which goes on for 4 billion years. So immediately it's outrageous. How can something go on for 4 billion? Is it 4 billion? 4 million and 4 billion. Yeah, 1,000 cycles of the yuga. Satya Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Treta Yuga. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. 1,000 times. That's the day of Lord. That's 12 hours of Brahma. That's 4 billion years. So they're dancing for 4 billion years. We can't even dance for 4 minutes, and we get tired. Right? We have to sit down on a plastic-provided chair. But they have spiritual bodies, beautiful spiritual bodies. So the gopis, Krishna plays his flute, and then they're attracted, and then they run to the bank of the river Yamuna, or the bank of Radhakund, or some particular valley of Selakunj, and then they see Krishna from a distance. So that's called Samdarshana. They see Krishna from a distance and they become mesmerized. They become flabbergasted because Krishna is so beautiful. And one of the emotions in Purvarag or Anurag is that whenever they see Krishna, they think this is the first time I've ever seen him. But in the morning they also saw him, and the day before they also danced in the evening. But Yoga Maya covers that. So they think it's just the first time. It's the first time. You imagine you have your Diksha Guru, and you haven't seen him for 2 or 3 years, Giriraj Swami or whomever it is, and then suddenly you see them. It's enlightening, it's very refreshing. But then the next day you also see them, and then the next day you also see them. So that familiarity breeds contempt. It sort of goes down a little. The obvious is the man and the woman, they marry each other, and they're infatuated, right? It's beyond infatuation. They're mesmerized. They're hypnotized by each other, looking into each other's eyes. I love you. True love is forever. And that lasts for what, 1 year or 2 years? And then they can't wait to get out of the house to go to work. They can't wait. So Purva means newer and newer, nava, newer and newer. So the gopis, Radharani sees Krishna and thinks it's the first time I'm seeing him. This is by the influence of Yogamaya. First time I'm seeing him. And he's so beautiful. And then she looks away, and then she looks again, and he's even more beautiful. And because his beauty and attractiveness is unlimited, there's no limit. In the material world, we can limit things. We limit things. But in spiritual concept, unlimited. There's no limit. So Samadarshana, she sees. And then Krishna says something. So Samajalpa, Krishna speaks. So the sound of Krishna's alluring voice enters into Radharani's ears. So can you imagine the sound of God speaking, or the sound of Radharani singing? Much more beautiful than, or alluring than some ordinary material man or woman. Even, you know, a wonderful singer, I think now, what's her name? Taylor Swift. She's very popular. I don't know why she's so popular. I can't understand why she's making so much money. Because it doesn't seem to be anything special. Or Madonna. She's getting a little aged now. So, the sound of the gopis singing, sound of Krishna's voice. So then Krishna sees the gopis, and then he says, "Oh, what you're doing here? What you're doing here?" Now he knows very well what they're doing here. They came to see him. But a lady's nature is not to make the first move. So they remain somewhat quiet and shy. So now Krishna, he knows very well why they came. Because he played the flute and he called them here. But he says, "So, why you came here? Why you came here?" You know? And they're a little confused now. Is he saying the truth? Is he tricking me? Is he doing something or other? You know? So there's another characteristic. That when a lady is particularly shy, and I've seen this with young girls, they look down and then they take their right or left foot and they rub it in the soil or the sand. Did you know that? They look down and then they sort of move their leg. So that's exactly what they did. The gopis also did this. Then Krishna again says, so he's trying to get the gopis to speak. He's trying to force them a little to sort of say something. But it's against their nature because they're somewhat shy and reserved. So then Krishna says, I know why you've come. I know why you have come. You wanted to see at night the river Jamuna and the moon shining on the margin and the beautiful waves and the vegetation and the swans and the peacocks and that very gentle breeze that is going through the forest of Vrindavan. That's why you wanted to come. Of course it's not. They came because Krishna called them in the flute. So then Krishna says, well, yes, this Prakriti means nature. It's very beautiful. It's very nice. Now you should go home. Now you should go home. So this is joking, parihasya. You're allowed to joke with God, but you've got to be liberated. You've got to be up there. Otherwise you can't. So then Krishna says, well, another thing. Just understand, it's late at night, it's dark, it's late at night, there's many wild animals. You know, in Vrindavan forest, there may be some tigers and scorpions and snakes. And these are all wild animals. and you're all young girls, shouldn't be out late at night. Now you should go home, quickly, go home. So he's waiting for a response from all the gopis. He's waiting for a response. This is all from Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. I'm not making this up. So then, what's the next one? And then he says, well, actually, my dear gopis, I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, he doesn't think that. And the gopis don't think that. But he says, I've heard from Gargamuni that I lived in a past life as Ramchandra, and I appeared previous years in Shingadev. And actually, I'm the indwelling super soul. So he's saying that, but he's just referring to a third person who said it, because it's all narrow lila, it's all human-like pastimes. So although he says, I'm the indwelling super soul, he doesn't really mean it. And then he says to the gopis, since I'm the indwelling super soul, and I'm in your hearts, you can all go home and just meditate on the super soul inside your heart, staying at home. So every time he says something, they counter. Every time they say, oh, Krishna. So this is parihasya jalpa. Jalpa means humorous talks. But there's many types of jalpa, 10 or 12 different types. So now the gopis become a little flustered, and it's been going on a little long now. So they say, well, Krishna, if you're giving us this instruction, this perfect instruction, you're telling us, and you're advising us in spiritual life, we accept you as a guru. And the first duty of the disciple is what? Worship the guru. Therefore, here we are. Then Krishna went, oh, I've been caught. I've been caught. So they turned it around. So this, of course, is the spiritual world. So in conclusion, all the emotions that we experience and see in this material world, like happiness or lust or anger or depression or pride or condensation, you condescend, you look down on people, or whatever it all comes from Lord Krishna and his associates. And it's going on in Vrindavan, Goloka Vrindavan, in a pure form. And that's why it's here in this material world. It's not even in Vaikuntha. Even in Vaikuntha, the residents of Vaikuntha do not joke with Lord Narayan. Even on the Shingadev's planet, which is Vaikuntha, Prahlad does not joke with the Shingadev. Would you agree? He doesn't cut a joke. It's awe and reverence. And it's accepted. It's Dasya Rasa, it's accepted. But it's absent. It's not in Vrindavan. Everything is there. Everything. So this is our ultimate destination. In the month of Kartik, we want to get closer to this. And to establish our personal relationship with Krishna and his associates, Radharani, cowherd boys, Mother Yashoda, Nanda Maharaj, Kirtida, Mukara, so many associates. So we should continue and understand this is our goal, to leave this mortal material world. For us, it means South Africa. When I say the material world, South Africa, and take birth in the Lord's pastimes, just like I'm convinced these two devotees who were killed have attained the spiritual realm. And this is the gift Lord Chaitanya is giving us. So we just continue, especially this month of Kartik, trying to increase our devotion, knowing that the time of death, which is inevitable, it's going to happen to all of us, is simply the body, the soul leaving the body, and that soul taking birth in the spiritual world, in the Lord's pastimes. This is the ultimate goal. Jagannath Subhadra Balaram ki jai. Shri Radha Damodar ki jai. Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai. Jai Gaurari ki jai. Gauri Manandi ki jai. Anand Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. So I'd like to ask any questions or comment.
Raj,
Yes.
why was Lord Krishna so persistent to the gopis about text? Was it because of Janmaka Machami Divya, or it was other motive?
Why is Krishna
Asking the gopis for text for carrying the butter.
Oh, tax.
Was it Janma Karmachami Divan, or he had some other motive?
The tax. It's simply to flirt. I use that word, flirt. Is that a nice word? Men like to flirt with a woman. Now, the flirtation mood starts with a woman, but she doesn't express it. Right? It's not nice when a woman comes on. Agreed? But the woman, those feelings of love, they first come in her heart, because that's the nature of a lady, nature. But she doesn't express it. And she waits for the man, as they say in English, to make the first move. Then he makes the first move, and then it's called koi, C-O-Y, and it's one of Radharani's qualities. And it means an artificial show of modesty and chastity, but it's just put on. I think you men know what I'm talking about. It's just a show. So flirtation. So Krishna needed any excuse to speak with the gopis. So he presents himself. I've been deputed by Kamsa, and you are treading on this land. And this land actually belongs to me. And my father is Nanda Maharaj, who has 900,000 cows. So what are you doing, treading on my land and also stealing my flowers? Who do you think you are? Now he knows very well who the gopis are. He knows exactly each one. Who do you think you are? And then the gopis say, we are no one. And then Krishna goes, you are no one? So not only are you stealing the flowers, jasmine, the rose, but you've stolen yourself, because you say you're no one. So then this joking goes on and on. Joking. So it's a spiritual world. So one day we will witness Krishna and the cowherd boys blocking the gopis, and when they're crossing the river Jamuna, Dani Navatana Kund, and we will actually see it. First we hear about it. Just to hear about it is amazing. And then we pray after many lifetimes of practice that we may see it, but from a distance. You can't see it close, from a distance, maybe behind a tree or something. And then after more and more practice, you come closer and closer. And then eventually, you participate in that Leela, but not straight away. First you hear about it from the authorized souls like Prabhupada, Vishwanath, and then through smarana, remembrance, you begin to remember it more and more. So first remembrance it's interrupted here and there, but then it becomes a little more deeper. This is called smarana. Smarana will go to samadhi, absorption, and then this pastime gradually will manifest, and you'll see it, but as I said, from a distance, and then slightly closer, and then slightly closer. This all takes time. And then eventually, when you're qualified, you are in the pastime. But you've got to be very qualified for that. So if you try to jump straight into that and assume that you are talking with Krishna or Radharani, and with Sahajiya Bhava, it's called Sahajiya, it's not appropriate. So first we hear about it. So that's the stage we're on. Hear about it from the right source. And Prabhupada, Krishna book, it's a perfect source. Anything else you'd like to ask? Ladies, something.
I just want to find out if I leave my body, can the children use the stove or a kettle at home?
What was that? Sorry, I'm getting old, my hearing is going. Can the children?
No, it's you're not allowed to put the stove or the kettle at home.
Not allowed to what?
The day if I leave my body, can
Yeah.
the children use the stove or kettle at home
Can
at my place?
when your body is cremated. Is that it?
Not before that.
So what's the question, please tell me?
Maharaj, I'll explain. You see, among Hindus, when you die,
Yeah.
everything is off.
Oh.
But with Vaishnavas, I don't
Oh,
think
you mean you're not allowed to come to the temple?
No, not at temple, at home.
Oh, at home.
Yes, they're not allowed to put the stove or kettle.
Oh, the stove or the kettle.
Yes.
There's many Hindu customs.
Well, like in my case, like if I leave my body, can my children use the stove or kettle at home to make?
No, you can carry on. We're Vaishnavas. We're Vaishnavas. So we follow a different culture. For instance, you leave your body, then generally 3 days we have this ceremony and offer prasad. That's the main thing. Actually, kirtan and prasad. But with our Hindus, what is it? 10 day, and then a 13 day, and then this day, and then that day, and it's not so important. We follow Vaishnava culture. I'll give you another example. Many of you have been to India. Am I correct? Now, when you go to India and you see the houses in a taxi or a bus, how many jandas do you see in Delhi? Delhi is 30 million people. So say 5 million houses. Are there 5 million jandas? You don't see any jandas except at the Hanuman temple. But that's a temple. So maybe they have a janda, the red flag. But here in Phoenix, how many jandas do we have? Quite a few. And now, no longer bamboo janda. It's no longer bamboo. What is it? Aluminium? Stainless steel. Now, not just a red flag, but what? What the yellow flag is? Lakshmi, is it? Huh? Lord Shiva, yellow flag. Red flag, Hanuman. Then other flag,
Three.
Huh?
Some of them have three.
3, and then ANC flag? Huh? Then South Africa flag because we won the World Cup. It's all made up. So how do we explain it? So when the priests, the Brahmins, so-called Brahmin, when they first came with the Indian people in the 1800s, I think 1860, then some priests also came and they introduced this idea because money, 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 they make some money on this. So you see in Mauritius, they have the jumpers, I think, but not in India, and that's where it's supposed to have come from. So it's something that's been made up. So this whole idea that you can't put the kettle on, or you can't cook, it's more Hindu. We don't have to worry about it. We should just worry about our devotional service to Jagannath, Subhadra and Balaram. That's more important. Yeah. So anything else? So let's end with a short kirtan. Jagannath Subhadra Balaram. Ki. Thank you very much. Jagannath Subhadra Balaram. Bless all of you. Just a few minutes.
Hare Krishna, so I'd like to dedicate this short kirtan to the departed disciples of Maharaj in Ukraine, to be sung in the mood of separation, evening melody. Holiness.